Dear viewers and listeners, we have with us today a person whose efforts unobtrusively determine the future of medicine, Dr. Janine Gray, Associate Dean of Honours Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Science at University of Niagara Falls, Canada. Holding a PhD in Zoology, and with a career that spans 2 continents, Dr. Gray not only taught and guided numerous students, but also initiated programs that combined science, empathy, and international sensitivity. From creating immersion wildlife ecology and to the student-driven learning in Canada, her journey is one of curiosity, determination, and purpose. Her story is a reminder that science is not just about text and labs, it's also about individuals, possibilities, and power of education that transform lives. Dr. Janine Gray, welcome to Magazika.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here. And that was an awesome introduction. Thank you.
It's all our pleasure and our honor to have you here. So let's start with the start. Curiosity with the career. Let's begin with let's say we can say a turning point. So your biomedical science education began long ago when you were not yet a professional, obviously. So were you a science kid at the young age, or do you recall any personal experience that led you to realize that this was not merely a course, but your vocation?
So growing up, I wouldn't say I was a science kid. I grew up in South Africa, and science wasn't a huge deal then, especially for women, right? Actually, I had a very traditional father, and when I chose science and maths as my courses I wanted to do in high school, my father actually went in and changed those choices to cookery and needlework. Which of course I changed back, otherwise I wouldn't be here. And I think what really got me started is I had a really great biology teacher who actually showed me how interesting and fun biology actually was. Mrs. Richardson, who is now Dr. Richardson, yeah, she was great. She made our classes interesting. She made them fun, and it was just a very interesting time.
Yes, and we can obviously thank Mother Nature that you didn't change the courses to that. So we are having an excellent teacher and excellent pedagogical mastery. So biomedical sciences may intimidate many. And like say, for example, me, I'm from HR, so it's a really soft and business side of the education. And my undergrad is in sociology. So how do you make complex topic material accessible and relatable to the students' everyday lives, especially in Canada?
Sorry, you've lost me there for a minute. I had all my answers written out and you've asked them in a different order. So give me a chance. I had, sorry, I'm messing up this interview, aren't I?
No, it's okay. I can repeat the question if you want.
If you can, yeah.
Okay, so biomedical sciences may intimidate many, those especially who are not from the discipline. So how do you make complex topic materials accessible and relatable to students' everyday life, especially in Canada?
I think it's the delivery of the material. Absolutely. If you can, and that's what I through my biology teacher, that's what I discovered was any topic in science which might be boring or might be intimidating, as long as you can deliver it in a way that makes it interesting and brings it down to the level of the students, it will be fun and it will be understandable. And the other thing you've got to remember is that biomedical sciences is all about the human body, how it works, and what can go wrong, right? When we get sick or we have diseases or anything like that. And so when you're teaching about it, bringing in real life examples of these things things, how do, you get thirsty, what is happening in your body, right? And explaining it from practical examples that that happen in life all the time, makes it a little bit more understandable and a little bit more fun and relatable for the students.
Yeah, true. And with that, and absolutely, I can't agree more, being a teacher myself. So um, from that, we will extend our next topic of conversation. That is the power of mentorship. How different will be your program, or how different is the program at UNF that you are running now? Empower students. What is special about the biomedical program that you are managing?
Actually, I love the way we are running the biomedical science program. I was a academic advisor and I've taught at other institutions, the more traditional institutions where they've got semesters, your 2 semesters a year, 12 weeks a term, 12 weeks in a semester. And I often had students that struggled with the workload, right? And so what we have done is a little different. We've made it 4 terms a year. We teach in only 3 of those terms. But what that's allowed us to do is actually spread out our courses a bit. So the workload is a little bit more manageable, and they're still getting 10 courses or whatever it is in that academic year, but we're spreading it out a little bit. So now they can focus more on fewer courses. And, a lot of these students are wanting to go on to careers where higher grades are essential. Right? You can't get into medical school unless you have a certain grade. And so having fewer courses to focus on means that they can attain those grades easier than if they've got your traditional 5 courses a term. So on average, we have about 3 courses a term, allowing them that more focused approach.
So that's a very, in my understanding, that's a very pro-student approach. Like
Yeah.
you're focusing on the not only how much they learn, but also how deep they can go side by side. You're ensuring like they are getting like good evaluation scores that will further assist their ongoing journey. So that's a very pro-student approach.
Yeah, we
And
have it's a very much a student-oriented approach, right?
yeah,
It's teaching students in the way that they can learn. And if they're enjoying what they're learning, they're going to do far better than if they're not enjoying it.
absolutely. No doubt about that. So that is where the way you were presenting your I would rather say your mentoring philosophy at your biomed program. So there is a lot of soft skills involved in that as well. I just mentioned a few moments back. So you emphasize, like in my understanding, you emphasize teamwork, communication, and flexibility. So why do you think these human skills are critical as technical skills in health sciences?
Oh, it's all about life and what we're going to do in the future, right? Every place you go and work, you're going to have to work in a team. Every place you go and work, you're going to have to communicate with others. And so through, encouraging teamwork from the start and getting them to learn how to work in a group is essential. It also teaches them communication skills with each other, peer communication. But in most of the careers they're going to go into, they're going to have to communicate with a lot of different audiences, patients, families, public, because a lot of times you're having to go into the public and, present stuff to them. So because of this variety of audiences, it's important to teach them how to communicate in different ways.
Yeah.
and to audiences of different levels. You know, you could be talking to a researcher one day, but talking to somebody from the public that has no science background the next day. So it's teaching them how to sort of pitch their conversation with them or communication with them in a way that they can understand.
Yeah, that what I realized in the last 1 year. We are doing Magazine for this is 1st July was our first anniversary. So what I realized that doctors, professionals, academicians, like like serious academicians like you, they all have come to our platform, and whenever they're invited, they're talking about their subject matter, their expertise, or their field of expertise in such a way, even like we represent the common people of Canada. Like we have no medical background. We are just beneficiary of the system, the labor, the research that you put into this field. But whenever you explain things to us, it's so accessible. So it is so interesting that you've put it in this way, that you have to speak to a different audience, maybe in a single span of the day. So
Exactly.
and it is so fascinating. It, like, do you like train students in that way, or like it is the curriculum or it is the program that is designed in that way that makes students adaptable to these varied environments?
So it's a little bit of both. You know, when I'm teaching students, especially like things like biology, and some of them will have a little bit of biology background, but I
Mm.
always say to them, science is like learning a new language, right? You
Yeah,
have to learn the terminology.
yeah,
So you've got to teach them from the beginning how to learn those terms and realize that not everybody can speak, you know, at the higher levels
yeah.
or understand those terms. So for me, it's teaching them about it from the beginning. But then we also have a number of communication courses that we're going to be working on this with the students on. And those communication courses are geared to teaching them to communicate at different levels or different audiences. So, you
That's
know,
great.
it's
That's great.
not just about the way we teach, but it's also what we're going to be teaching them.
That's great, because just to give it a piece of our industry understanding. So we teach, basically there are three basic business philosophies in the world: North American, Asian, and European. So in all the three philosophies, the most important upcoming business skill that we will be needing is communication.
Yeah,
I'm so fascinated to hear that you have a communication course separately for your students. That's so what word should I use? Upmarket and visionary, both.
actually, we have more than one course
Yes, yes, yes.
because we are working quite closely with a doctor who went through one of our schools in the Caribbean, Sabre,
Oh,
and he actually said the one thing that we should introduce into our program is communication skills
yeah.
for between the doctor and the patient, between the doctor and the, you know, the family,
Mm.
and so we have a communication course that we're actually starting this term, but which starts introducing them to communication. But then in their final year, we've actually got clinical skills courses
Oh, wow.
that the students can take to learn to communicate to patients, you know, family and other audiences.
You are doing all the right things that our recent business projective study material curriculum development science is telling us. You are doing all the right things. Trust me.
Well, it's good to hear. That's
Thank
really good to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Technology is changing the face of medication or medicine. How do you prepare students to navigate and contribute to this new landscape where health science is meeting innovation through technology in a very fast-paced manner, please?
You you just said it, right?
Mm.
It is changing, and it's not just in so your like computers and things like that, but it's
Mm.
also in the science field, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so what we want to do is bring technology in as much as we can, teach the students not to be scared of it, to embrace it. But not only that, we also want to teach them to be adaptable because, as you said, technology is changing constantly. And what you're learning today is not going to be there tomorrow, right? You have to be able to adapt to the new technology. So making the students or giving them the experience and the ability to adapt to any new technologies that they've faced and to how to learn to use them.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're going to be doing is virtual reality, and we're going to have a human body in front of us. So that's how we're going to teach anatomy and physiology. We're actually going to have them. We're building a VR room at the moment, virtual reality room, which is just a big empty space, and the students will go in there, stand there in their groups, and they will have a body in front of them that they can start looking at the different body systems and things like that. A lot more visual.
Yeah,
and almost hands-on. Not quite hands-on, but they can take bits off. But they're also learning it in a way that they are comfortable with, right? Because these students today are always on the computer. They're always on the phone. A lot of them are gamers. A lot of them have VR sets. You know, they're used to virtual reality. So all we're doing is teaching them in a way that they're comfortable with as well.
wow, that's as I say, that's all the right. I'm hearing all the right things that that reaction is going through. That like whenever we are like available to, for example, the like above the torso or in the torso, whenever we are dealing with the major organs, if you see where exactly the position of the heart is in comparison to the liver, in comparison to the pancreas, so it will give them a very real life understanding with that imaging.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And the other thing is, I actually had the opportunity of sticking my head in a beating heart through virtual reality,
oh,
and I
wow.
could see the valves opening and
Yes,
closing
yes.
when the different parts of the, when the different chambers of the heart were contracting. And so I can stand and teach you that, just, explaining it, but seeing it is something that's completely different. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, in pilot training or in another trainings, we call this like live simulation.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's and it's it
Yeah.
and suddenly the teaching becomes so engaging for everyone.
It does. It does. And they're going to remember it a lot better than
Lot
having me stand there with PowerPoint presentations and diagrams on, on the PowerPoint presentation. They're going to remember it a lot better than
better.
me doing that.
The memory retention power will be like increased like quantum fold, like
Exactly. Exactly.
so. You are very passionate about one concept I came across while studying your profile. It's called One Health approach.
Yeah.
So to one who has never heard of it, or like, let's say I am totally new to it, can you explain it very simply and obviously why it matters?
I'm going to actually give you the CDC definition of it, or what they call One Health. One Health recognizes that the health of people is closely connected with the health of animals and of the environment. Everything works together.
Okay.
Right? Everything interacts together. And it's not just about people, it's also about animals and how we can transfer disease between them, but also the environment, because quite often the environment plays a huge role in whether a disease is going to be present or not. I mean, take winter versus summer. When it's cold, some diseases are not present. Tick populations, right, aren't present as much during cold weather. Come summer, suddenly we have all the ticks, right? So there's a huge interaction between these diseases and the environment as well. So in order to look at ways of either trying to prevent the disease occurring or to prevent the spread of disease, we need to be looking at all of these aspects. So bringing people together from the medical fields, the human medical fields, bringing people from the animal medical fields, bringing people from the environmental fields. And this, I'm not just talking doctors and vets, I'm talking researchers, microbiologists, everybody from those areas that work together to see how can we reduce the impacts in the different areas, or reduce certain things in the environment, which will then reduce the spread of disease. So everybody working together to actually combat or try and prevent those diseases spreading is important. COVID is an excellent example, right? Yeah. And it spread so quickly. We weren't ready for it.
Yes.
But everybody worked together, not only the doctors or the researchers trying to come up with a vaccination, but also people in the animal fields, wild animals. We found out that your cat can get COVID and spread it,
Yeah.
or things like that. So we need to be aware of the impacts on all those different areas and how we can prevent that disease from occurring again. I mean, we're not going to stop it now, but let's try and prevent it spreading more.
Yeah, that means the One Health is such a holistic concept of looking at well-being for not only human species, but where the human species is living. That means the ecosystem. That means wow, that's,
Yeah.
and please.
And our populations are growing. We're moving into the geographical areas where these animals are. It's bringing us in closer and closer contact with wild animals, other domestic animals, things like that. And so we've got to expect some sort of transfer between the two. So working on ways to prevent that is essential. We've also, before, in the early days, we didn't really mix much, right? Because you couldn't get from one continent to another. Now we can get there very easily. We're transporting animals, and people everywhere. So it's even more important now to be working on these three different aspects than it was in the past.
True. And globalization, it's a
Exactly.
globalization of everything. And
Yep.
also, we are going into different countries, trying their cuisine, living in that ecosystem for like 7 days, 3 days, 15 days. Then we are coming back. So
Exactly.
it's happening all around us.
Yeah.
I never thought it in this way. So thank you for opening that up. Like,
Yeah. I think One Health is what we have to be thinking of, when we talk about human medicine, when we talk about animal medicine, we have to be doing it from a One Health approach.
and COVID I think, was the most recent and one of the greatest wake-up call. And
It was.
it
It
was,
was.
yeah. I can easily relate to that. So, then we just like shift a bit to the more on the mentoring and the teaching side. So let's talk about resilience in academia. That means teaching and leading in a high-stake field can be draining. What are the habits that keep you centered and organized and doing?
Yeah, it can be draining. It really can. But I think what we're doing at UNF is different. And in some ways, it's better. I mean, obviously, I'm going to stand here and say what we're doing is better than anywhere else. But we are very excited about the way we're doing things. We're bringing in people, we're bringing in faculty that are very excited to do different things or to teach in a different way. And so we kind of feed off each other a little bit, and that excitement, when we go into a meeting, I have team meetings twice a month. And when I go into the team meeting, I'm excited by my faculty because they're excited about what they're doing. I had a retreat recently on learning to work with AI and incorporate AI in education. And instead of being scared of it, which is what a lot of us are, we're terrified of it. We want to penalize students for the use of AI, but we shouldn't be. We should be embracing it and using it. And so we talked about different ways of being able to use it and teaching the students how to use it. So I think the faculty themselves, the excitement they have for the way we are doing things is important.
But just by listening to you, I'm just really, I thought that I was doing it wrong, but I just realized that I have done the right thing. Just this semester, I presented a very small case to the students as a part of a very small 5% of a course. And what I said to them, read the case, it was onto their canvas. And I say to them, you will use ChatGPT or whatever the AI platform, but on just you have to provide two more additional information for each answer. One, what is the platform that you're using? Is it a free or paid version? You have to mention that. Second, to extract that answer from the case by using that AI, what is the prompt that you are using? You have to include that.
Yeah. And the other thing you've got to remember when you're using AI is not everything that comes from AI is correct. You
No.
know, it has biases.
Yeah.
And you've got to be aware of those. So the way they've used up to now, cutting and pasting, is
Yes.
not the correct way to do it
No.
because,
No.
you know, and so by saying to them, use it, but then reassess it, review it, make
Yes.
sure that the information you're getting is correct, make sure the sources that they're using are good sources.
Absolutely.
You know, some of those sources can be made up, and just by
Completely.
looking for those sources, they can figure that out. You
Yes.
know, so I think it's the way we use it and the way we teach them to use it that's going to be important.
I'm going to write that sentence. You are absolutely correct. Yes, because after that assignment, it was a 3-hour class. So after that assignment, completely 1 hour, and I took the counting, 1 hour and 17 minutes, almost was I led them to review the answers that was provided by the AI. I said, look,
Exactly.
it's AI. You have to remember the elaboration. It is artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you, my friends, you are human intelligence. So you
Yeah.
have better deductive power than the
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
it can give you the it can give you the info. You have to make sure contextually and usability sense it is correct or not. So you're
Exactly.
yeah, so it's fascinating to hear that you are thinking in that way, because most of the conversation I have around AI with my other colleagues, some of them are really scared. I said, no, you can't avoid
Yeah.
it. So you have to make the best use.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to use it. They're going to
Oh,
use it.
yes,
So let's teach them to use it effectively.
that's the right word, effectively. That's so nice. So nice of you. Thank you. Let's talk about breaking barriers. So have you ever had moments when you had to bend the rules for the battle or to win the battle, and for change in the education and the healthcare, that okay, it should not be done in this way, but it should be done in that way? Leadership is all about that. So
Mm.
how did you do it, or how, without giving us too much of details, and how did you feel about that whenever you uplifted something into a betterment? How did you do that?
So at heart, I'm not really a rule breaker. I mean, I was when I was younger, but in the world I'm in at the moment, it's a little bit more challenging for me. But I do try and find ways to get around it, or ways to drive some change. And it's important to speak up,
Yeah,
right?
that's an
I've
important.
already given you one of the examples that I love about what we're doing here is this term system. You know,
Yeah, that's
just
so
by
fascinating.
giving them those extra terms and allowing the students to focus more, you know, that is one of the biggest things that attracted me to this university, was the way they were doing that, because that was one of the biggest things I found as a challenge at other institutions, students burning out. you know,
Yeah.
and not achieving what they want to achieve because they're just so overworked. There's so much to do. And just reducing that workload a little bit
Yeah.
has helped a lot. So I think, although I am not a rule breaker, I can recognize things that are better.
Yeah.
And I think it's more effective in their learning.
Trust me, I had one master's from UK and one master's in EFT. I wish I would have that semester system in my student life.
Exactly.
That would help me a lot. A
Yeah,
lot.
and you'd think because we're doing 4 terms rather than the 2 semesters, and we're doing them 10 weeks, so we have 10 weeks of instruction and a week or two of assessment. You'd think that they're getting less out of it, but in actual fact, we're doing 4 hours of instruction with them a week, and that's not. They still will have for certain courses the 3-hour labs,
Yeah.
but. So from the 10 weeks, they're actually getting 40 hours of instruction, which is actually more than they would in a semester because it's 12 weeks of 3 hours. So, they're still getting the same amount.
Yeah.
We're just concentrating it a little bit more.
And in a more efficient and effective way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fantastic. Uh, a message to the everyday listeners. It's unlikely that most of our readers or viewers are scientists, or so though they do care about their families and their own health. So what is something you have learned through your research that could make their lives a little easier? You can share with them, please.
Oh, there's a lot I've learned, but I think one of the biggest things I've learned, I've loved watching the cohort go through this first cohort. Being a brand new university, we're seeing them come in, we're seeing them develop, we're listening to them. We meet with the student reps very regularly. We take on board the information that they are telling us. This works, that doesn't. Can we change this? And we're trying to effect those changes. And I think that's important, is listening to others, and also, I don't know, we're just learning. Um, they're learning from us, but we're learning from them as well,
Yeah.
And I think that's very important, is to remember that their voices are also important in this. Our pre-med pathway is also a great opportunity for the students, because it offers a direct pathway into the medical schools that we have in the Caribbean. And this pathway can often be very challenging for a student. So by making it a little bit more direct, it's taking a lot of the stress or the guesswork away from the students. And so they can focus a little bit more on the work that they're doing.
Yeah,
I
true.
don't know if that answered your question, but I hope it did.
No, it's absolutely in sync with the answer. Not. So whatever we have heard so far about your role, your department, and how you are mentoring the students. So in which direction you're looking at? Obviously, we're in the right direction, but we want to know that the kind of the not exactly the end goal, but what lies in future for you? Like, what most excites you about the future of biomedical sciences? And do you have any new project or ideas that get you most fired up at biomedical sciences at UNF, University of Niagara Falls, please?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, I love what we're doing. I love the fact that it is ever changing, that we're learning constantly, that, and this is not just from the students, but it's also the fact that technology is changing. So we have to keep up with that technology. The other thing is we have regular meetings with people from the sector. So we have what we call Program Advisory Committee. And on that committee, we have people from different industries in the healthcare field. We bring them in and we say to them, look at our program, look at what we're delivering. tell us, is this the right way we're going? Do you think we need to change anything? And through that interaction with them as well, we're actually able to keep the program up to date with the changes that are happening in the industry. And I think that's really important, is making sure we stay up to date with everything, not only technology, not only the information we're teaching them, but what we're teaching them, the skills we're teaching them. I think it's important.
Yeah, totally understandable. We have almost come to the end of our conversation, but as we ask almost everyone, specifically who are in a kind of leadership position, so you're in the academic leadership, so as a leader, as a mentor, and as a researcher with a huge experience, how do you want your legacy to be? How would you like to be remembered?
That's, I'm quite a humble person quite often, but to me,
that's we got already. That's the vibe we already have.
To me, I kind of sort of got it from my biology teacher, right? It's inspiring the students, making sure that the students love what they're learning. I probably could tell you a story about my daughter. She came to one of my lectures once. It was bring your child to work day, right? When she was in grade 9. And before that, I used to have to fight with her for biology. I used to have to say, study it, it's fun, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of the most inspiring things I got from it was that she said to me, well, how long is the lecture? And I said, it's an hour and a half. And she said, oh, that's as long as a movie. So I said to her, sit at the back. You can go to the coffee shop next door when you get bored and wait for me. Okay. She was there for the whole lecture, and she came bouncing up to me at the end, and she said to me, Mom, that was wonderful. I loved it. And we were talking about lungs and gills. And I mean, how interesting is lungs and gills? But she came up to me and she said, that was really interesting. And that's what I want for my students. That's the legacy I want to leave, is that the students love learning. It's not about learning a specific topic. It's about learning any topic. In my career, I've taught a lot of different courses, things that, I'm a zoologist. But I have taught sports science students. I've taught hairdressers, psychology students. I've taught a wide variety, and I just love learning new stuff. And that's what I want them to learn, is just to love and embrace that learning opportunity and take it one step further. And my daughter's now going to become a teacher. And she's going to be teaching biology. So, I mean, what more can I want? Wow. If that's what I pass on to the students, that they learn to love the topic, that they learn to love teaching, it's what we want in life, right? What I want to give them.
Yeah. So nice to hear. And I should add one more line whenever I say that you have a very vast experience as a researcher. You have a very vast experience teaching a wide spectrum of students. And that I was just like looking at the picture that you have posted at the back. Innovation flows here.
Yeah.
Your teaching must be very innovative. Otherwise, you couldn't resonate with such a diverse background of students.
Yeah.
With that note and with that inspiration, it was an honor speaking to you, and we are very glad to have this conversation. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.